It does not matter what it is that you do, as long as you do something. Set yourself a challenge, because it will be that first step into gaining back that momentum, that excitement for life. And one habit, compound effects. If we do one thing that is in alignment with what we deep down want, it compound effects in all other areas of our life.
Hi, my name is Pernilla, and this is my Challenge Your Norm podcast. I'm absolutely obsessed with anything related to personal development. And well, to grow, we got to challenge our norm. And so on this podcast, we chat about life and how we can challenge our normal way of living it to make it greater than we could have ever imagined. Just one little belief, habit, bold move, and challenge at a time.
Hello, my beautiful friend, and welcome back to another episode on my Challenge Your Norm podcast, where today's episode is for anyone out there who wants to gain back momentum, gain back this feeling of joy, and like they're moving in the direction that they really want in life. I believe that when we do that, we experience this extreme sense of excitement and purpose and fulfillment. So if you've been feeling like you have gotten into a bit of a rut, or you're just at an stage in life where you're ready to step back into that, or maybe you're not, but then hopefully this episode today is going to motivate you to step back into building this momentum, into flow state, feeling like your absolute best self. I was on another friend's podcast the other day, and she asked me what made this shift inside of me when I fully committed to getting in incredible shape. And she also was talking about how at one time in her life, she was also able to make this shift happen, not necessarily within fitness, but within another area of her life. And we were talking about what it actually takes to make that decision, to actually make those drastic changes, because we all know we have those habits that we continue to do, but deep down we're like, I don't think this is really bringing me any joy. Like, I kind of want to stop, but we just continue doing them. And that was me for many years when it came to really wanting to get in badass shape. But what changed was that one day I got so sick and tired of living my life in a way that wasn't fully in alignment with what I deep down wanted for my life. And so I had to get to that point where I was like, enough is enough. I'm going to fully commit to this. And the cool thing about when you make a decision like that is that it, first of all, doesn't even necessarily feel hard, because you're so committed. There's no other way. You're just goal focused on this thing that you have committed to, that you're going to do. My friend whose podcast I was on, she'd experienced this with Diet Coke. She had for years and years and years been drinking like so much Diet Coke every single day. And one day she woke up and she was like feeling grossed out about this Diet Coke consumption. And she was like, no more. I am drinking water from now on, 0 Diet Coke. And she also was experiencing this just ease about it. Like, there was just no inner battle, no discussion whether or not she should continue doing this. And I know that at some point in your life, you've made this drastic change within some area of your life. I think every single human has, right? Like, we've all both heard of and experienced this. Enough is enough. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm going to make change. And we can get to the point naturally where we're like, I'm sick and tired of doing this thing, so I'm going to stop right now. Or we can also literally take every single one of these habits that we have, that we're doing at this point of our life, and ask ourselves, what do I deep down want? What does the highest level version of myself want? I spoke about this on my story the other day on Instagram, and this was another example that we were speaking about on this podcast, which was, she has this tendency to drink margaritas every Tuesday, and she's kind of battling whether or not this is in alignment with what she deep down wants. And the awesome thing is that there's never a right or wrong way to live your life, right? The only thing that is right is doing the thing that actually is in alignment with what you deep down want. And so if there's some habit, for example, let's take this margarita example, Tuesday margarita example, there's some habit that we're battling between whether or not we should stop. It's about sitting our butt down with our journal and questioning ourselves, what do I actually want? And if you journal on this and you maybe create a pros and cons list and you come to the conclusion that actually this Tuesday margarita habit that I have is helping me have so much fun, really socialize and connect with these humans that I'm around. And it's kind of breaking up my week, whatever, it could be different reasons, but these were just the ones that I could think of right now. Maybe those are the pros about it. And those take the cons of it, then you can make the decision, the commitment to continue doing it, but stop yourself from feeling bad about it. Stop yourself from continuously having this inner battle, inner chatter as to whether or not you should do it or if you should stop. But same goes with if you write down that it actually makes you feel really shitty every Wednesday morning when you wake up, it kind of stops you from this good flow momentum that you'd had in the beginning of the week, or whatever reasons that it doesn't align with what it is that you actually want to do long term. If that's the conclusion you come to, then again, you can stop the inner battle and you can make the decision that it's time to stop. I'm no longer drinking Tuesday margaritas. An example from my life, for example, is that I sleep with makeup every night. And I know that's terrible for you. And sometimes I've tried to, because other people would tell me that that's so bad for you. You should remove your makeup at night. So I've started doing that, but I keep going back to not removing it at night because my reasoning to remove my makeup just isn't big enough. When I get tired, I get tired and I get lazy and I just don't have enough of a reason for me to stop removing my makeup. And I could choose to be hard on myself about it. But if I know with myself, I don't actually have enough of a desire to change it, I can just accept the fact that this is how I live my life and be okay with that and not beat myself up over the fact that I don't remove my makeup at night. And other people can think that you should do something, right? Other people can say, this is so terrible for you. You're going to have terrible skin. Side note, my skin is always great when I eat healthy. I believe that when my nutrition is good, so is my skin. When I go to Denmark or have been flying on a plane or something and eaten more fatty food, that's when I start getting pimples and seeing breakouts. But whenever right away, if I've eaten chips or something, then I'll, see it in my skin. But if I stay consistent with my healthy eating, then I don't. But going back to how other people can want you to change, right? If someone's overweight and other people can see that it's really limiting them from living the life that they maybe deep down desire, other people can want for their weight loss, but it has to come from within, right? We can't make someone else change, or someone can want for you to have a certain career because that will bring you certainty in life, because certainty is such a big value for them. But if certainty isn't a big value for you, then they can't make you change. They can't make you want this other thing. And you can, try to please them for a certain amount of time, but maybe you end up actually being miserable about doing it, or you stop these habits, or you stop the process of going in that direction of your life because it didn't come from within. These changes have to come from within because we're the ones in charge of doing the work, putting in the hours and creating these habits that are going to get us to that whatever area, to that place in life. So it really does have to come from within. But that was all kind of just a build up to what I actually want to speak with you about in today's podcast episode. Because if you're feeling you're in a rut, or you're not feeling the most amount of joy that you can or know that you have experienced in the past, I want to challenge you today, because this podcast is called Challenge Your Norm. And this is actually the reason why I started this podcast. It's because whenever I felt low, or I felt like I've been stagnant, I felt like the needle hasn't been moving in the direction that I want, whenever I've challenged my norm within whatever area that I want to focus on in any given time in my life, that's when drastic changes have happened to the better. yes, sometimes mistakes have come from it, but then I've learned from the mistakes and then, I've become wiser and use that moving on in my future. And as you know, if you've listened to my podcast, I am a massive journaler. I'm a massive meditator and massive like walker in nature for whenever I need guidance. And well, meditation and journaling, I do literally every single morning. And I've been doing that for many years at this point. However, I myself can sometimes try to ask my way, meditate my way, laziness my way to get the thing that I want. But there is a time and a place and a season for that. After finishing a large work task, I often will need a little bit of recovery time, a little bit of time going inward, asking and recharging and allowing just this ease flow to take place without any form of challenge, any form of pressure to do, to act. Literally just be and feel and flow and relax. There's a season for that. And I know with myself, and I ask myself when that season needs to be and when that season needs to slowly end. And I need to start take action again. I need to start going back into this next season of actually creating the next project version of myself life. And I just came out of one of those seasons, as in it was maybe a month or so after having completed this 30 YouTube videos in 30 days. And that I've talked a lot about on this podcast. And it was needed. It was really, really needed. But by the end of it, I also knew that it was time for me to get back into this building momentum and flow to continue to create and take action on these things that I deep down want in life. And the funny thing is that every time I come out of a season like that, it's really hard for me to take action all the time. It's a little bit harder for me to do the things that I need to do because I've been used to maybe take it more slow, allowing myself to be a little bit more lazy with things. And my brain is so naturally lazy that it's like I really have to snap myself out of it. And I could feel for the first little while it was hard for me to build back this momentum, but I've really managed to do that now. And it feels, oh, when you are taking action that is in alignment with where you deep down want to go, it feels so good. And I want to share my challenges that I've set for myself for this year, or at least these first 3 months of the year, to hopefully maybe inspire you or make you think of something that you feel would be exciting for you to challenge yourself with. Because I was really asking myself during the time when I was taking a little bit of time off, I was asking myself of what do I want for this next year? Where do I see my dream life? Where do I see the best version of myself? What direction do I see myself going in? And I really want to make an impact in the world. The best way for me to do that and the way that fulfills me to do that is through creating YouTube videos. And I was asking myself, like, what makes me the most happy? What times in my life have made me the most happy? And that's really when I challenged myself. And I wanted to combine the two because I really value growth. I feel at my best when I'm growing. And I also know that the impact I want to make in other people's lives is to help them grow. And for me to help other people grow, I have to do the same thing, right? Like I want to be the person that doesn't just talk about growth. I want to actually be stepping and doing the things that I'm trying to get other people to do. I feel like you can tell when a person is just preaching about something or if they're actually living it. And I want to be the proven example of someone living it because that's the people that have inspired and motivated me the most in my life are the people that are actually breathing examples of what they preach and vulnerable with it, sharing their mistakes. And so that's what I wanted to find a way to combine the two. And through a bunch of journaling and asking myself a ton of questions and New Year's resolution exercises, I came to what I feel was the perfect challenge for myself this year. And that was to, just like last year, I did a ton of like challenges, physical challenges for myself that I then documented and shared on YouTube. I wanted to do the same thing this year, but not just with like physical goals. I did do other things last year too, but I felt like it ended up being a lot about like building muscle, fat loss, and I would try to get my self development in there and other challenges as well. But it just, that's why most people follow me, is for my fitness. And I love fitness and I love challenging myself physically because it does compound effect in all these other areas of our life. But I'm so like, I want it to be a little bit more all around it this year. And I wrote down, I believe, 22 challenges. There may be more that and I will be adding more to the list, but 22 challenges that I wanted to challenge myself to do this year that are, they're not massive challenges, but they're challenges that, like, habits that do make a massive impact in my life if I were to do it. And it's a challenge. So it's not something I wake up in the morning and I want to do these challenges, but it's challenges that when I stay consistent with these habits, either for a 30-day period, maybe longer, or just like a 7-day experiment, it does add up and build momentum and make me gain new self-awareness. And it challenges me to grow. And whenever we grow as humans, we feel more happy. That's just like, I'm going to say that's a law. That is a rule. Many motivational speakers talk about this, but like I actually have, like I feel it every time. And I think you do too. Whenever you're growing and evolving in an area that you're actually a little bit passionate about, like can we agree that you felt better and joyful as well during those phases? Like I'm pretty sure we all have experienced that at some point in our life. And so I wrote down all these challenges that I wanted to do, that I also felt was important, potentially would be interesting for someone else out there to both watch and maybe even do as well. Because that in that way I can document myself going through these challenges and then share it with the world in the hopes that someone else is willing to take on this habit that could bring them long-term happiness, that could help them start building this momentum towards a healthier, happier life. And one of the things that I decided to do happened because I was on the couch with my mom watching a Danish TV show. And the TV show was about an experiment that was all about anti-aging. So 3 famous Danish people were taken through this process of changing their eating habits into intermittent fasting. They had to take this specific pill every day, and that apparently has like benefits to anti-age self. Oh my God, that's not the way you should say that, but I can't come up with any better way to explain it right now. And they had to increase their exercise because their biological age was currently older than what their actual age was, except for this one guy who had been like a bicycle rider his whole life. So he was younger than his actual age, but they took this test and then they went through this, I believe it was like 3-month process. And then by the end of the 3-month, they had lowered their by taking this test again, they lowered their biological age. And I was so inspired by that. I thought that was really cool. And I thought that that was something that other people, could implement a few of these things to lower their age, as well as myself. Like I want to be the healthiest I can be, and I want to challenge myself to that. So I reached out to this company that do these tests, and they were willing to work with me on my YouTube channel. And so I took one of those tests, and I'm currently in the middle of like this little bit of an anti-aging experiment, which does include intermittent fasting, but intermittent fasting my way. Because I've tried intermittent fasting before and it is incredible for my body. Like I usually, if I don't have any limits on myself, I'll eat till I go to bed at night, and then like eat right away when I wake up. So my body never really allows time to digest, and I can just feel the impact it has on my body whenever I do allow myself more time to like digest and fast. However, the 16-8, which is what most people do, they fast for 16 hours and then they eat for 8 hours. That's too long for me. I wake up at 4 in the morning, and having to wait till 8 a.m. to eat is a long time for me. Like that's 4 hours where I normally would have been eating. So what I've done to be able to stick to this long term, I think that, people can say that there's one right or wrong way to do something, but if I can get the benefits of intermittent fasting, but do it my way so that I can stick to it long term, I'm going to do that instead of sticking to what the rules are of the typical intermittent fasting, because I'm still going to get so many benefits from doing it my way over not doing it at all. So I'm just saying that in the case that you've been wanting to start a habit, but you feel like it's just too restrictive. Wait, I haven't even told you what I'm doing. So I'm eating for 10 hours and fasting for 14 hours, which is still, how much is that? Less than what I normally do. Normally I eat for 16 hours and fast for 8, maybe something around there. So I've changed the time a little bit depending on my schedule, but either it's like I eat from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. or a little bit later I eat, and then I eat later. And this is actually a big challenge right now due to another challenge I'm doing, because something that I'm doing this week, when you're listening to this podcast, this week, I am living my life as I used to when I was a professional dancer. So every single day I'm taking dance classes, and I'm sharing all the things that I would eat during different phases of my dance life, the time of me being a dancer. And so this intermittent fasting that I'm doing simultaneously with this dance experiment that I'm doing this week is a little bit challenging, because dance classes usually are ending very late at night. So I'm trying to navigate it. But again, I'm not doing the most strict intermittent fasting way of doing it. I'm doing it Pernilla style. So I've set certain boundaries, certain rules for myself, and doing a more easy, less strict intermittent fasting, because I really do want to do this for a long period of time. And to do that, I need to make it as convenient as possible for my lifestyle, for what works for me, because I'm still gaining incredible benefits from doing it this way, doing it my way. However, to complete my anti-aging experiment, what I'm also doing is I'm taking these little pills every day that they were taking in the documentary that I was watching, as well as, instead of exercising, because I already was doing this, when I was having this conversation with the company that are helping me bring me these biological age tests, they told me about this experiment, and I heard it afterwards as well of other people doing it as well, where this human started changing his diet by every single week eating 30 different plants. And that can be vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds. They didn't even say spices. And he would eat 30 different plants every single week for 3 months. And he lowered his biological age. Oh my gosh, was it 3 years or 5 years? But something that I thought was impressive. In 3 months, just 3 months, he lowered his biological age by that many years. And so that is something that I incorporated as well. And I'm still trying to figure out how to put all of me documenting these experiments into YouTube videos, but it's exciting. And I have, as you know, 22, maybe up to 30 that I'm going to try and do this year. But something that I do want to say is that from past experiments, what I do know is that I need to feel it out. I need to take these first 3 months of the year and go full out. And then I may have to change up some things, change the way that I'm doing it. But I would love to do it like all these 30 challenges throughout the year. But maybe as I go, I'll get new knowledge, I'll get new experiments that will lead me in a different direction. But for right now, this is the plan for my year. And the reason that I'm sharing all of this with you is that just like whenever I have set any challenge for myself, I automatically get out of whatever rut I was in, because suddenly my brain is focused on some vision that feels exciting and great. And The funny thing is, like I mentioned, I often don't want to get started because my lazy brain wants to stay comfortable. Like yesterday, I danced for 4 hours. And before going to that dance class, there was a big voice inside of me that was like, oh, but you don't really want to do this. Oh my God, you don't want to do this. Because thinking of dancing for 4 hours straight feels so hard. But afterwards, in the midst of it, oh my God, it felt so incredible. It's just like every time we don't feel like working out, when we go move our body, we feel so amazing afterwards. Or when we don't feel like eating healthy, the next day we feel so good within because we ate healthy, right? Like food affects us, exercise affects us, nature affects us. If we didn't want to go on that morning hike, then when we've completed the hike, we feel so good. And so I'm sharing this with you because I want you to set a challenge for yourself. Right now, I want you to think of what is some challenge that you could do that feels exciting, that yes, maybe you don't actually want to commit to right now, but if you committed, you know that's something, or at least you have a thought, a feeling that maybe something incredible could come from that. Maybe your challenge is signing up for a 5K or signing up for a marathon, signing up for a weekly dance class. Maybe it's as little as drinking 1 gallon of water every day. Maybe it's booking a flight to go see that friend that you haven't seen in so long because now you're long distance, but your conversations back in the day were just so fulfilling for you. Maybe it's, you know, starting that side hustle that you've been thinking about. Maybe it's as big as that. Or maybe it's as small as getting 5K steps in every day, 10K steps, 15K steps. Maybe it's that you're going to start reading 10 pages every night. It does not matter what it is that you do as long as you do something. Set yourself a challenge because it will be that first step into gaining back that momentum, that excitement for life. And one habit, compound effects. If we do one thing that is in alignment with what we deep down want, it compound effects in all other areas of our life. Whenever I've set the intention to read every night, it literally impacts all of next day because I read self-development books. So it's like it makes me reflect on things. It makes me feel more gratitude and joy and go towards things that maybe previously I wouldn't have because I would be too lazy. Or when you eat healthy, we all know that that leads us to want to do other healthy things for ourselves. It's just like this level of self-love, right? When we do the things that maybe we don't feel like doing in the moment, but that we know are going to be good for us. And going back to the first thing we talked about in today's podcast episode, how sometimes we have to be so sick and tired of being sick and tired in order for us to actually make lasting change. And I believe that we can even get ourselves there. We can, through listening to a podcast episode, be like, oh yeah, you know what? I have been a little too easy on myself. It is time for me to set myself a challenge and go do the thing. And I'm committed. I'm doing it. I'm setting up. I'm signing a contract, whatever it is that you're doing. But sometimes we need to push ourselves to get there. And something that you can do easily, if you want to push yourself there, is take a blank piece of paper with a line in between and then write on the top, like the challenge that you want to set yourself, but you're kind of not really willing to do. Write down all the reasons why you need to do it, what that habit could lead you to. And then also on the other side, write down what's going to happen if you stay stagnant compared to if you actually take action, actually commit to doing this thing. Like we have to be so raw and honest and vulnerable with ourselves when we want to make drastic change, because otherwise we're going to want to go back to our old habits. That's how we're wired as humans. So I really dare you today to challenge your norm. Set yourself a challenge. When this podcast is coming out, we're entering February. And what if you made the commitment to yourself that every day of February or whatever your challenge evolves, maybe it's like 3 weekly things that you have to do, maybe it's like once a week you have to do something, but what if you commit to all of February, go for this thing, do this thing. And you may need an accountability partner, you may need to pay money to actually commit to running this race or whatever it is. Find a way to commit and do it for yourself, for your future, for your current happiness, because it will bring you that. It will. And you're worth that. Like you need to, I know, but I'm just reminding you, just like I need to be reminded, like you are so worthy of that. And we only have freaking one life. I'm so dramatic. But I don't want to not be, because it is that important in my world. It just is. And you deserve that. You really do. So when you stop this podcast, please set yourself a challenge. That would make me so happy. Something else that would make me really happy is that if you found this useful, that you shared with a friend. It helps me grow my podcast enormously, and it is just something that I would feel so incredibly grateful for, or on social media. And if also you haven't written a review, that is something that also really helps me a lot. Or just take 2 seconds to give me 5 stars if you did find this valuable. And most importantly, set yourself this challenge, commit, and let's make February freaking phenomenal. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, as always, in order for you to grow, you have to challenge your norm.